All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. It's your brother Yazarok, WFI Philly, Jersey, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, of course, giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Wamalek Yahweh Shai. That is to say, Yahweh, who the world calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right. Hey, double honors to you brothers out there pushing this truth in the highways and byways, week in and week out, and enduring. A honors to you sisters as reverencing your husbands, holding it down in the households, and the honor to you children that's in this truth, man. That's reverencing your parents and keeping the commandments diligently. All right. All right. Through the Spirit today, we're going to get into, I believe I titled this video, that Israel is the Lord's sword, right? Because just like the precepts tell you, the wicked is the Lord's sword, right? To do what? To come up against Israel when they're being wicked, when they're going off, right? When you read the book of Isaiah, it calls Cyrus the Great, the Lord's servant. Why? Because when the when the Medo-Persians came in and destroyed Babylon, they took Israel captive as well, right? Just like Nebuchadnezzar would be considered the Lord's servant. Why? Because he's a sword, because they come up against Israel and destroy them when they're going off. So guess what? In the last days, Israel's going to be the Lord's sword. We always been the Lord's sword, right? When we ran the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Jebusites and all these wicked nations out of their land, right? In the same way, in these last days, when the Lord gives the green light, we're gonna be the Lord's sword to what? To destroy these heathen and to gather them up and bring them back to the homeland and spoil them, right? So we gotta go and prove through the Spirit, Lord willing, how we're gonna go through the precepts and show you that we're the Lord's sword, right? So Lord willing, brothers got their Bibles, right? Their apocryphas, right? They pens and they notepads, right? And we take it down precepts. All right, so let's kick it off. We're gonna start with the actual precept I just said not too long ago. We're gonna go to the book of Psalm, right? The book of Psalm, chapter 17 and verse number 13. All right. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 17 and verse 13. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." Right? So there it is. The wicked is the Lord's sword. That does what? That comes up against Israel when they're going off. Right? Like I said, the Babylonians, they would be considered the Lord's sword. The Medo-Persians, considered the Lord's sword. Right? The Greeks with Alexander the Great, right? The Romans with Tiberius and the men that came up against Israel in 70 AD to besiege it, right? And now you got the so-called white man, right? In America that came and besieged us in 1619, right? And brought us over here to this wicked land, right? They would be considered the Lord's sword, right? Let me get this precept in Isaiah. We're going to go Isaiah 10 and 5, right? Because the Lord uses man, right? The Lord's not literally hopping off his throne, right? The Lord uses man to commit the works that he needs done, right? And when it comes to destroying other nations, bringing them down to the earth, right? The Lord uses man to do that, whether he's using the wicked or whether he's using the nation of Israel, his people, the chosen, the holy people, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10 and verse 5. It says, "O Assyrian, the rod of my anger, and the staff of their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against the hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him charge, to take the spoil and take the prey, and to tread them down in the mire of the streets." Salakia. Gone. Salakia. But it says, "O Assyrian, the rod of my anger." Now, when it says, "O Assyrian," it's not literally talking about the Assyrians, right? The Assyrians just referencing a powerful man, right? For example, let me get this in the book of Ezekiel, right? Because the Assyrian doesn't literally mean the Assyrian all the time, right? The same way you have in certain chapters where it says talking about the Egyptian, it's not literally talking about the Egyptians, right? So let me get this right quick in Ezekiel 31, right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 31, and I'm going to get straight to the point. In verse 3, it says, "Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon with fair branches and with a shadowing shroud and a high stature, and its top was among the thick boughs." Now, Ezekiel 31 is a very, very dark parable and very in-depth breakdown on Adam and when he was in the Garden of Eden. Now, Adam is being referred to as the Assyrian. Why? Because he was a man of power, of might, of high stature, above all the rest of the nations. He was the chosen Adam. So the Lord's referring to him as the Assyrian, right? Now it says that he was a cedar in Lebanon. Now we know this talking about a man. Why? Because we know that men are referred to as trees in the Bible, right? Let me prove that real quick. Let's go to Mark, the classic, the book of Mark, chapter 8, Salakia, and verse number 24. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Right? This is when the Lord healed the blind man. He told him to look up and tell him what he saw. He said, I see trees as men. Salakia. It says, I see men as trees walking. Right? So you have to understand when the Bible is speaking parabolically, when it's talking about trees, sometimes it's talking about men. So when you go to Ezekiel 31 and it's talking about the cedar in Lebanon, it's talking about what? It's talking about a man. It's talking about the chosen Adam. Let me get another precept on that real quick. Talking about how trees, men are compared to trees in the Bible, right? Go to the book of St. John, right? This is the book of St. John, chapter 15 and verse 1. It says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. So the Lord said that if the branch is not producing fruit, then they're going to cut it off, right? And vice versa, right? If it is producing fruit, he's going to purge the fruit so that he can bring forth more fruit. Now, fruit is what? Is your works, right? So the tree is what? Is man. If man's not bringing forth good works, then guess what? The Lord's going to cut it down, and vice versa. If he is, then the Lord's going to accept that fruit and have you go back out there and produce more fruit, right? So in the Bible, trees can be talking about men, but you have to understand the context, right? So come on, let's go back to this in Isaiah. Isaiah 10 and 5. O Assyrian, the rod of my anger and the staff of their hand is my indignation. So the staff of the hand of the Assyrian is the Lord's indignation, meaning what? His wrath and his power is in the hand of this man. The Assyrian is talking about what? A man of power, right? So you have to understand that this man has power through the Most High God, right? So let's get into how Israel will be considered the Lord's sword. We're going to get the classic off the jump, right? Everybody knows this precept. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51 and verse 20, right? This is straightforward, right? If brothers ever want to use this, if brothers ever wanted to prove it, everybody going to go to this verse, right? Jeremiah 51 and verse 20. I'm going to start verse 19 for the context sake. It says, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So the Lord said, hey, listen, you're my battle axe and weapons of war, right? What are you doing with a battle axe, right? Is it just sitting at home and you just looking at it and it's just glistening, you kind of sharpening it, right? No, you put that thing to use, right? When men went back in the day went to war, they all had their swords ready, right? Girded by their side. The Lord has Israel girded, ready to go. Brothers and sisters just got to wake up and repent. And when the Lord seems fit and he returns and he gives that cue, hey, those elect men are going to go out and hunt down the heathen. And we're literally going to be the Lord's sword that day, right? It says, thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, and with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. So, hey, the Lord's going to have at a certain time period, the Lord's literally going to have the elect 144 men come and destroy this place, literally destroy a kingdom, right? The greatest kingdom that ever considered, the greatest kingdom that ever exists, Babylon the Great, United States of America, right? Now, I don't know there's controversy between that, Babylon, the original Babylon, might I say. So, but regardless, right? The Lord's going to have the nation of Israel come and destroy this kingdom. And we're going to destroy these other nations. Because we understand at the end of the day, the Lord's going to eradicate the so-called white man out of the earth, right? Edomites. Everybody knows that precept. We're going to get it. We'll hold this right here. Let's go to Obadiah, right? Because the Lord told you how he's going. The Lord didn't just tell you that the white man's going to disappear. He told you how he's going to disappear, right? Let's get this real quick. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse number 17. I'm going to start 17. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. So we're going to possess the possessions of the other nations, right? We're going to rob those that robbed us. It tells you in Isaiah 61 that the Gentiles are going to bring their forces to us. The forces is what? Their gold, their silver, all their riches. We're going to possess all that stuff. Even Esau, we're going to possess his homeland, right? It says that Mount Seir shall be a possession, right? Verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. So what does stubble do in fire? It cooks, right? That's what gets the fire started, right? So Esau is going to be like stubble in that day. The twigs, the little, the pieces of hay, the grass, right? That stuff that you use to get the fire started, that's going to be Esau in that day, right? After his 1,000 years of captivity is fulfilled, right? It says, and Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh hath spoken it. See that? So the Lord's literally going to use the Israelites to eradicate the white man out of the earth, right? Let me get this other precept. There's another classic. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, right? Chapter 25 and verse 14. It says, I'll start verse 13. Matter of fact, I'm going to start 12. Because this is when the judgment, if you read Ezekiel, the 25th chapter, the judgment on Edom starts at verse 12. Thus saith the Lord God, because that Edom had dwelt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and have greatly offended, and revenged himself on them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Don shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do with Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord God. So Israel's going to be the one that lays their hands on Esau by the Most High God, right? According to his vengeance. So what's he going to do? He's going to put that spirit in brothers, right? To literally understand how pissed off the Lord is at Esau. We can say we're as mad at Esau as we are. We're still in captivity, right? Brothers still suffering from some degree of Stockholm syndrome, right? If not, then brothers wouldn't be nice to the white man at all. Some brothers not, but to a different degree, right? On a higher level. The Lord is literally mad as hell with Esau right now for what he's done. The 500 years of abuse, slavery, rape, rob, murder, butt breaking, all the things that he's done. The Willie Lynch letter, right? The Jim Crow errors, the hangings, all these things that Esau has done to Jake, the prison systems, right? The injustice within the prison systems and their so-called justice system, right? All the things that Esau has done, not even just to Jake, to the earth. He's polluted the entire earth, right? Putting embassies in everybody's land, right? Military, democracies, religion across the world in everybody's land, and force everybody to drink their wine, right? And be drunk, right? That's why the Lord has to come back and put this man to death and be eradicated out of the earth, right? So the Lord's going to do that by what? By the hand of Esau, by Slakia, by the hand of Israel, by the elect men of the Lord. He's going to have these men, scoop them up, bring them back to Israel, allow them to serve captivity, hardcore bondage, and then slay them at the end of the day and eradicate them out to earth and put them all to death, right? Let me get this precept in Job. This is the book of Job, chapter 27 and verse number 11. It says, I will teach you by the hand of God that which is with the Almighty will I not conceal. Behold, all ye yourselves have seen it. Why are ye Salakia? Salakia. Why then are ye thus altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors, which they shall receive of the Almighty. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. So the wicked, so we know the wicked of the earth, John 9:24. The wicked of the earth is Esau, right? This is the portion of the wicked. If his children be multiplied, it's for the sword at the end of the day, man. So guess what? The Lord is literally raising up Edomites right now to what? To be slaves and then be killed at the end of the day, right? That's what's going on in the Bible. That's what's going on with Esau. That's what's going on in reality, and that's what prophecy's talking about, right? So the Lord says, Salakia, back in Obadiah 1 and verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle them and devour them, and there should be none remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it, right? So at the end of the day, Jake's going to be the one, Slocky, Israel's going to be the one to put their hands on Esau and get them up out the earth, right? Through the spirit of the Lord. Just like the Lord sent the prophets, the Lord spoke the word, Psalm 68 and 11. The Lord spoke the word. Great was the company of those that published it. Hey, listen, the Lord's going to put that spirit on brothers to have that wrath. So all the wrath is going to be according to the Most High God. But guess what? Israel's going to be the one executed, right? Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. Right? I like this precept too. It's one of my favorite precepts. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and verse number. I'm gonna start verse 4. For though they be punished in the sight of men, right? So this is talking about the holy man, the really going to the elect, right? When men are persecuted for the Lord's sake, right, by wicked men, right? It says, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. So brothers and even sisters, they're gonna die for this truth, right? And the wicked man thinking like we did the Lord's job, right? We killed this man, right? We're good. He's out of here. But the hope of that man is what? Immortality, knowing that the Lord's going to justify him, knowing the Lord's going to bring him back, right? Lord willing, through the Spirit, bring them back, and they're going to live forever, right? Because they died in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, right? For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For God proved them and found them worthy for him. And this is what this is talking again. This is talking about the elect. You went through that chastisement, and you for a little bit of time, and the Lord found you worthy. So now your reward is going to be great. What are you going to get? Again, like I said, immortality, a kingdom, reigning over the earth, over the heathen, right? Slaves, riches, glory. The scriptures say a crown that never fades, right? And this is forever. So being chastised for a little time to have that great reward. Hey, listen, brothers should be willing to go through that, right? Let's read on. This is the point. Slagi. Verse 6. As gold in the furnace has he tried them and received them as a burnt offering. This is the point. And in the time of their visitation, meaning when the Lord comes back and Lord raised them up according to 1 Thessalonians 4 and 17, when the Lord brings them back, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. And if you ever lit some stubble, with a lighter real quick, and you see the sparks that's running through it while it's catching flames, it's moving. How fast it's moving is crazy, right? You can't even keep up with it. It says they shall run to and fro like sparks in the stubble, right? That's how those elect men are going to come back, right? Let's read on. Verse 8. They shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. So when those people come back, they're going to run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They're going to do what? Gathering up the heathen, right? Destroying men, slaying men with the sword, putting men in the pit so they can go handle their business. And then when they come back, they're going to drag them back to the homeland, right? And they're going to be slaves, right? Let's jump over. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 5 and verse. I'm going to start at verse 15. Wisdom of Solomon 5 and verse 15, right? It says, but the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with Yahweh, and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand. For with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them. This is the point I wanted. Verse 17. He shall take, Slaki, he shall take to him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. So the Lord's going to do what? The Lord is going to take the creature, meaning what? The Israelite man, as his weapon, as his revenge on the enemies. The same way in Psalm 17 and 13, the Lord used the wicked against the nation of Israel as a sword. The Lord's going to flip the script. The Lord's going to use the nation of Israel against the enemies of the Lord, right, as their sword, right? So you have to understand biblically what the Lord's sword is. The Lord is not sitting up there with a sword in his sheath, waiting to hop off his throne and come down here and slay men. No, he's a on a carnal level, he's a kingpin, right? He's Pablo Escobar. He has people that do that, right? The Lord's not getting off his throne and doing anything. The Lord has his angels to do that. The Lord has Yahweh Shai to do that. The Lord's got the nation of Israel and the wicked when Israel's going off to do these things, right? So in this context, what we're talking about, the nation of Israel, we're the Lord's sword, man, right? We're the ones that's going to put these heathen in order. We're the ones that's going to destroy these heathen at the Lord's commandment, right? Let's go back to the book of let's go to the book of Joel, right? Chapter 2. A few more precepts here, right? This is the book of Joel. Sheesh. Chapter 2 and verse number 7. They shall run like mighty men. Talking about what? Talking about the elect. Hold on, Salakia. It says, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of Salakia, like men of war, right? And they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. You see that? So first off, it said that they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one in his ways, and they shall not break rank. Meaning what? You know, Jake. Jake always want to be the head, the lead man. Jake want to be the guy up top. He want to be the leader, right? That's why Jake has problems falling in line, taking orders, right? He says that they shall not break their rank, because just like in the ancient world, and even in the modern day world, you have captains, you have officers, right? And then you have soldiers. Every brother's going to know their rank, and you're not going to break your rank. Why? Because you're going to be in order. You have that spirit on you to keep order too, and to understand your position, right? So the Lord said that they shall run like mighty men, and guess what? They will not break their ranks, right? Reading on, it says, neither shall one thrust another through. So we're not going to be fighting each other. You're not going to give this brother a sword and this brother a sword, and next thing you know, you turn your back, and they slaying one another because they had beef on the block back in the day. He was Crip and I was Blood. That's not going to happen in these days, man. The Lord's going to give those brothers the right spirit. Hey, those brothers are going to be the elect. Those brothers probably in that spirit right now, Lord willing, to love their brother, right? But that spirit is definitely going to be our brothers, because we're not going to be subject to the curses such as Deuteronomy 28:54, right? It says, neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Meaning what? Nobody's going to get hurt in that day. Remember, the Lord told you in Revelation 20 that there's going to be no more death, or Revelation 21, that there will be no more death, right? So if there's no more death, then guess what? Just because we get shot while we're probably out, and Lord willing, you know, the elect men are out, Lord willing, the brothers watching this are the elect, and we're out hunting down the heathen, just because the heathen kind of, you know, might have a sword or a knife and kind of stab you up, or they got an AK-47, they letting that thing go. Hey, listen, that you're not going to get hurt, right? You're not going to be thrust through. You're not going to be wounded, right? You're just going to kind of watch those bullets go through you, and watch, you know, you're not getting poked by that knife. You're going to be like Superman in that day. Bullets might bounce off you. They might stab you with the knife and it might bend, right? Right? So, hey, Lord willing, that's you, that's me, that's these brothers on the highways and byways that's pushing this truth, and Lord willing, brothers endure, and we get to watch this come to fruition and be a part of it, right? So it says, Salakia, they shall, verse 9, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall, and they shall climb up upon the houses, and they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. So a brother's gonna be running on walls in this thing, jumping over high walls, climbing on houses, going in, hunting down these heathen, man, and these other nations at the queue of the Most High God, right? Let me get this real quick. Let me get this in Habakkuk. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 3 and verse 16. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself. This is talking about when the Lord comes back. Habakkuk was shook, right? Put it plain upon tables. It says, and I trembled in myself that I might rest in the day of trouble. And when he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Now, what were the troops of the Most High God? It's the nation of Israel and the angels and the chariots, right? So when he comes back, he's going to invade them with the troops. Those dead in Christ that you read about again in 1 Thessalonians 4 and 17, they're going to be risen up first. 9 times out of 10, those are the elect. When I say the elect, I'm talking about the 144, the elect of the elect, the 12,000 of every tribe. When you read Revelation, the 7th chapter, right? They're going to be the troops that come back with the Most High God. They get to hunt down the heathen, get to spoil them, destroy them, bring them back to the nation for slavery, right? These are the things that the Bible's talking about when it's talking about his troops. The troops are the nation of Israel, because remember, we're the Lord's sword, right? That's the whole point of this video. Understand how the nation of Israel, the elect men of Israel, ain't with the Lord's sword, right? So back to Joel 2 and verse 10. The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars withdraw their light, right? Oh, in verse 11, and the Lord shall utter his voice before his army. See that? What the nation, the elect of the elect that's going to be out there hunting these heathen, they're the army of the Most High God, right? That's what the word host means when you see the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, the Lord of armies, right? Because remember, the Lord's a man of war. We left Israel in camps, right? In what's the word I'm looking for? In army formations, right? So the Lord's not. So when the Lord says his army, he's the Lord of hosts. Hey, listen, he's the king of the army. That's why I say he's. That's why it says he will utter his voice before his army, right? For his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very terrible. Who can abide it, right? And Lord willing, we make it through that. We make it up out of here through the Spirit of the Most High God, right? Let's go to the book of Micah, right? The book of Micah. Slavic. Bear with me for a sec. Going to the book of Micah, chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse number 7. It says, in the remnant of Jacob, talking about the men that's left, the elect, the remnant. Because remember, only 1/3 will make it out of here. So that's the elect. Then you have the elect of the elect, which is the 144,000, right? It says, the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, and as a young lion among the flocks of the sheep. Now, when a lion goes among the flocks of the sheep, especially today, hey, are they just grazing with them, right? Kind of eating grass, kicking it, laying on top of each other? No, licking each other. That's not going on, man. You put a lion in the midst of some sheep, what are they doing? They're devouring them, man. They're destroying them. They're ripping them up like rag dogs, right? All of them. Because they understand, hey, these sheep, and they're docile. They're not going to do nothing. And they're not fast. We're going to destroy these sheep, right? So, and we're the sheep of the Lord, right? You can read about that all throughout the Bible. We're the sheep. In those days, we're going to be the lions. These nations are going to be the sheep, right? It says, and the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, and as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and thine enemies shall be cut off. See that? That's another one of my favorite precepts too. Said that, hey, listen, Jake, hey, not Jake, Israel, we gonna be out there in the midst of these nations like lions, man, as if they're sheep, robbing, destroying, slaughtering all these nations and getting our get back. That's why the Lord said, let me get this real quick. And people think it's off to want to get back, man. You don't want you tell me you don't want no get back for what they did to your forefathers and foremothers, man. Talking about God is love, all is love, and all is love, man. Hey, listen, it is what it is. We gotta put it behind us, the past. Lord said, remember the days of old. So what are you talking about? Right? This is the book of Second Thessalonians, chapter 1 and verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with God. It is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And what is tribulation? Tribulation is going through a hard estate, right? Rape, rob, murder, oppression, that's going through tribulation. So the Lord said that it's a righteous thing to recompense. What's recompense? Give it back, right? Return the favor. To recompense tribulation to those that trouble you. Who troubled us? The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, right? When you go through the book of Judges, Moab, Ammon, right? Amalek, right? The Greeks, the Romans, right? And I mean, come on. Do we have to mention the damn so-called white man, right? And I said Amalek for a reason, right? Because what did the Lord say? Let's go to the book of Numbers real quick. There's another precept. Show you, hey, listen, the Lord's not just going to do it. The Lord's going to have a nation of people do it. Obviously, it's going to be the nation of Israel, right? This is the book, Salakia, of Numbers, chapter 24, and verse number 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Salakia. Because we understand Amalek is the grandson of Esau. So the Amalekites that's over there in our nation, hey, listen, they're going to be eradicated off the earth too, right? Remember Revelation 2 and 9, right? The synagogue of Satan, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy, right? Because this links up Numbers 20, 24, and 20. That links directly up with Deuteronomy 25 and 19, right? Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 19. It says, therefore, it shall be when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about in the land which Yahweh thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. So the Lord didn't remember. The Lord didn't forget this. The Lord don't forget nothing, right? So he said, listen, you have to blot out. When you get that rest, you have to blot out Amalek from remembrance, man. Why? Because of what they did to us when we was in the wilderness, right? Kind of came up, wouldn't let. They actually they attacked us from the rear, right, where we was weak at, right? Slakia. That's in verse 17. It says, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt. How he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost part of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not God. So while we was leaving Egypt, hey, these guys smote us from behind, right? That's where we was the most weak and feeble, right? So the Lord said, when you get to your homeland and you get this rest, hey, listen, blot out Amalek from remembrance. Take them out. Destroy these nations, right? And that's another reason. It's a whole different topic, but that's the reason why Saul got the kingdom rent from him, and the Lord gave it to David, because he didn't destroy all the Amalekites. So Saul didn't do what he was supposed to do. So now David got the kingdom, and guess what? At the end of the day, it was all because of it was all of the Lord. But at the end of the day, now these niggas got our damn nationality, man. So-called nationality, so-called Jewish man, right? So the Lord said, hey, listen, you got to blot out Amalek from remembrance. And the Lord didn't forget that. So Lord willing, when we get the kingdom, we're going to put, well, whoever gets the kingdom, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's the next man, whoever gets the kingdom, hey, listen, Amalek's going to be blotted out and rooted out of the earth with the rest of the damn Edomites, right? Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, right? So we're the Lord's sword, man. We're the one that's going to do the killing for the Lord. Lord say he kills, but guess what? He does it by a certain people, right? He does it by pestilence. He does it by the nation of Israel, right? He does it by famine, right? He does it by the wicked, right? So the Lord does it by the angels, right? So the Lord has different ways of taking people out. But at the end of the day, you know, we all know Deuteronomy 32 and 39, right? See now that I am he, and there's no God with me, and I kill and I make alive, right? I wound and I heal, and then neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand, right? So at the end of the day, the Lord is doing it, right? It's just a matter of by who, right, or what. You know what I'm saying? Right. So let's get this real quick in Zechariah. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at verse 4. Out of him came forth the corner, out of him the nail, out of him the battle bow, and out of every oppressor together. And they, talking about Israel, shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle, and they shall fight, because Yahweh is with them, and the riders on horses shall be confounded. Right? So in that day, and guess what? We're gonna have the Lord on our side, right? Ain't nobody gonna be scared, right? Let me get this real quick. Because we know Judas Maccabeus wasn't scared of nobody or nothing, right? Let me get this real quick. This is the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 10 and verse 28. I'm gonna start at verse 27. So after the prayer, they took their weapons and went on further from the city. And when they drew near to the enemies, they kept by themselves. Now the sun being newly risen, they joined both together, one part having together with their virtue, their refuge also unto the Lord for a pledge of their success and victory, and other side making their rage leader of their battle. Right. So, hey, listen, our forefathers, they went and prayed first, right? They prayed and then they went to battle, right? And we had the Most High God on our side, but guess what? These other nations, they had Slakia, they had rage as their on their side. That was their confidence, was their rage, which is going to get you nowhere, right? It says, but when the battle waxed strong, there appeared unto the enemies from heaven 5 comely men and horses with bridles of gold, and 2 of them led the Jews, right? And took Maccabeus betwixt them and covered him on every side with their weapons and kept him safe, but shot arrows and lightnings came, and lightnings against the enemies, so that being confounded with blindness and full of trouble, they were killed. And there was slain of footmen 20,500 and 600 horsemen, right? Hey, so they had the Lord on their side, man. The Lord sent a couple angels with the chariots and horsemen, right? And guess what? They destroyed over 20,000 footmen, right? Because why? Because they had the Lord on their side. That was their confidence, right? Not rage, right? So back in Zechariah chapter 10, it says, they shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight, because Yahweh is with them, and the riders on horses shall be confounded. So they're going to be confounded in that day, man. They're not going to know what's going on. These niggers, what are these niggers doing? How are they running on walls? How they find us? These Edomites are going to be in their bunkers, right? They bunkers that think that they're war bunkers that think that that's going to preserve them, right, for thousands of years until the nuclear holocaust is over, and then they can come back out and they can restart. They can build back up America. That's not going to happen, right? The Lord's going to find these men are going to be found and they're going to be eradicated out of the earth, right? So don't think you can hide from the Most High God or from His elect, right? They're going to be confounded in those days when the elect comes back, right? Because they're going to think, like it tells you in Wisdom of Solomon, when you keep going in the 3rd chapter, hey, they think that they did justice, man. And then when they come back, they're going to be confounded because they're going to have no idea that their latter end was better than the beginning, right? Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book Isaiah, right? Go to Isaiah, the 41st chapter. The book of Isaiah, chapter 41, and I'm going to start at verse 13. All right. Isaiah 41 and verse 13. It says, for I, Yahweh, thy God, will hold thy right hand. saying unto thee, Fear not, I will help thee. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. So when you have a threshing instrument, what are you doing with it? Same thing you do with a sword, a knife. You use it. The battle axe, you use it. The Lord said, I'm going to make you a threshing instrument with teeth. Now, what are teeth? Are they literal teeth? No. When you have a knife and it's got the sharp part on it, that cuts everything. Now, when you look on the back part on top, it's got jagged edges that usually face backwards, right? Those are considered teeth. Why? Because when you stab with it, kind of twist and you rip it out, think about how you got teeth on the top. Those are jagged edges that are in there. Everything that's getting ripped out when you pull it out is just getting demolished, right? Destroyed, right? So you have a knife that's got some teeth on it, it's doing more damage than a regular knife that you got. Now imagine the Lord's sharp threshing instrument. It's like a machete. Sharper, longer, thicker than a machete. And then you got teeth on the back part of it. That's going to do some damage, right? It's probably going to slay a man, go right through him, and then you pull it back out and you pull all his guts with him. Got him right in the stomach, and now the stomach is hanging off the knife, right? You got to think about this stuff, right? The Lord said that, Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small and make the hills as chaff. So understand when you go into the Bible, again, just like men are trees, mountains are great kingdoms, and hills are smaller kingdoms. Right? We're going to prove that real quick. Let's go to the book. We're going to stay in Isaiah. Right? We're in the book of Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. Oh, excuse me. The book of Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, it says, And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. So it's talking about the nation of Israel, right? It's talking about the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai will be exalted above all the other mountains and all the other hills, right? You have great kingdom. You have great mountains like America, like Russia, right? Like China and North Korea. And then you got the hills. You got Australia, right? You got Ukraine, Germany, Canada, these lesser kingdoms, right? But the Lord said that his kingdom is going to be exalted above all the other kingdoms, right? Let me get this real quick in Daniel. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 22. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 44. In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So this kingdom of the Lord is going to be exalted and shall stand forever above all these other kingdoms, right? Above all these other mountains and hills, right? So like it said in Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 3, and many people shall go and say, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh and to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For out of Zion shall go the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Right? So this mountain that you're reading about, when the Lord said, Thou shalt thresh mountains and beat them small, the Lord's literally not going to take us to Mount Everest and kind of thrust us through Mount Everest and destroy us to Mount Everest's flat. Right? No, it's talking about, hey, we're going to destroy these other nations, these other kingdoms, right? Russia, Gog, Magog, Babylon, the Medes, right? That's what's going to happen in those last days. Moab, Ammon, right? We're going to destroy these nations that came up against us, right? And then the hills, Germany, France, Greece, all these lesser nations, all these lesser kingdoms, the hills, right? And it says, and thou shalt fan them, and thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them, and thou shalt rejoice in Yahweh, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. Right? So all praise to the Most High, man. Right? Lord willing, brothers. Hey, Lord willing, brothers taking notes. Sisters was taking notes. Right? But this is just a quick lesson for brothers and sisters to understand. Hey, listen, the nation Israel with the Lord's sword, just like the wicked, like we read in Psalms 40, in Psalm 17 and 13, that the wicked is the Lord's sword. Hey, the nation Israel is also the Lord's sword. Where's ultimate sword, right? With a sword that he got out back that he in an armory that he never used, right? Right, the one that's glistening, the glittering sword that he hasn't used, right? The glittering sword that he hasn't used yet, right? The sharp threshing instrument, right? And Lord willing, he get to use us soon, man. And we get to take out these heathen, spoil them, destroy them, take them back, put them in captivity, and have our feet kicked up in the kingdom, man. So I want to give all praise, honor, and glory, a mighty call halom to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. Lord willing, this video was edifying to you, brothers and sisters. Lord willing, brothers, stay in the spirit, and you continue to fast, read, study, pray, and to stay in the spirit in this thing, man. All right. Shalom.